The Minnesota State Patrol says it is issuing tickets to an increasingly higher number of drivers going more than 100 miles per hour. Here's reporter Sonia Goins.
The Minnesota State Patrol says when traffic was reduced during the pandemic, they thought they would see a reduction in fatal accidents, but it's been the opposite this year.
When you look at 443 deaths on roadways, 143 of those are from speeds alone. It's a problem.
Lieutenant Gordon Shanks says troopers are not only seeing an increase in people speeding, but the speed at which drivers are going, some pushing 100 miles per hour.
Over 100 miles an hour is dangerous. I mean, it's dangerous no matter what climate you're in, what condition you're in, what roadway you're on.
And some drivers in the Northwest Metro like to go over the speed limit. A trooper recently caught a motorist going 130 miles per hour off of 94 here in Brooklyn Center. The speed limit in this area is only 60 miles per hour.
Going 130 on a roadway is not acceptable. And so if you see that happening, call 911.
And this summer, a Maple Grove officer clocked a driver going 105 miles per hour on Highway 610 near Elm Creek Boulevard. That's 40 miles per hour over the speed limit.
I can't think of a time where that would be acceptable or the excuse would be justifiable to go that fast.
And there are ramifications for speeding. Fines double when speeds exceed 20 miles per hour over the limit. And if you drive 100 miles per hour, your driver's license could be suspended for 6 months.
Not acceptable, not safe, not best practice for driving on these roads.
Sonia Goins, CCX News.
The Robbinsdale School Board passed a measure earlier this month that will require all staff to either be vaccinated for COVID-19 or submit to regular testing. The board said this recommendation came from the different bargaining units representing staff. Under the policy, teachers and other staff will have to provide proof of vaccination or weekly updates on testing. Any staff member who doesn't comply will be subject to disciplinary action. The policy goes into effect no later than January 1st. If you followed local school board races, you know that many of the candidates brought up concerns over curriculum and what's actually taught in schools. We sat down with the Anoka-Hennepin District Superintendent David Law to learn more about how the district decides curriculum in today's Newsmakers.
So there's a lot of drivers for changing curriculum. Some of it is it gets old or outdated, but the main reason for curricular change are updated state standards. Whether it be math or language arts, we have just gone through a math and language arts adoption. We're doing our 612 adoption right now. Social studies certainly is getting a lot of news time. Those drive change, and then as those things are coming, our internal experts, our teachers and curriculum experts are reviewing those and going through the process of how does what we currently use as materials match up with what the state's expectations are. And then we have a lengthy community involved process to make that change.
Sure. How much do you hear from the public about this? Are you hearing more about it these days?
You know, certainly social studies is probably the most public involved, and I think because they're talking about making changes that are different than what people experienced when they were in school, that's probably by far the most we've heard about. And math is very interesting. As a former math teacher, I can tell you that studies show 60% of adults didn't feel confident with their math skills, but those same adults really don't want anything to change with how we teach math. So it's a very interesting dynamic.
Interesting. Now you guys are expanding your Curriculum Advisory Council. What is that and what do people need to know about it?
So in a typical adoption process, a group of teachers will select a handful of materials to pilot. But in that process, we run it through both a panel or a group of school board members to see the process, and then a group of parents and community members who will look at the materials and provide input. And this current year, we're adding 5 community members that aren't parents in our system. And the goal for that is just to answer that parent question about how do we have an opportunity to review this.
Is there anything that you'd want parents to know that might be watching about how curriculum is chosen?
I think it's important that parents know anytime we pilot materials for a change, the students in that class and the parents of those students have a chance to take a survey and say, I'm going to look at this at home. My son's been using it or my daughter's been using it for 9 weeks, and I'll tell you how it looks to me at home as a parent watching my son work through the process. And we've been doing that for several years, and we get great feedback from our students and parents. It is never just 2 or 3 teachers in the district office selecting materials. It's always a lot of students, a lot of parents, and an opportunity for community input.
All right, takes a team.
Takes a team.
All right. David Law, Superintendent of Anoka-Hennepin Schools, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Superintendent Law also said that every time there's a curriculum change, the district will place the materials in a room and open it up for a few hours in the evening so the public can review what's being considered. You can keep up with that availability and learn more about the expansion of the Curriculum Advisory Committee on the district's website. The weather might have turned colder, but you can still enjoy the bounty of the summer at the Maple Grove Farmers Market, which moved indoors for the fall.
One of the things that often surprises folks is that we still do have a lot of beautiful fresh produce here at the indoor farmers market. It's very seasonal, so it's going to be a lot of root vegetables, a lot of greenhouse grown items like greens and cucumbers.
There are select dates that the market will be open inside the Maple Grove Community Center through the end of the year. There are more than 25 vendors featured, and that includes several that call the Northwest Suburbs home.
We love the indoor market because it really extends that marketing season for the small farmers and growers and food makers that we work with. They like to have an income in the off season just year round, just as everyone does. And so it's another way that we can support those very small businesses and just help them to thrive.
The Maple Grove Farmers Market will feature an indoor market just for Thanksgiving coming up on November 23rd.